Hey, and welcome to Smoky Ribs. It's been a really bad weekend this weekend, a lot of rain and weather, so I've decided to do my cooking indoors this weekend instead of out on the grill. And I also figured it'd be a perfect opportunity to do a video recipe that a subscriber recommended me doing. I got a message in my inbox here a few weeks ago, and the subscriber also sent a link to another YouTube video, and the video was actually done through the channel Tasted, and the video was created by David Guas. David Guas is a chef over at Bayou Bakery. This is over in Virginia, but he originated in New Orleans, and he in fact actually recreated a po' boy that he grew up eating from a restaurant called Charlie's over on Lakeview in New Orleans. So he recreated this for the restaurant. It's on their menu, and I'm going to recreate it and try to put a few twists and turns. I'm pretty much going to stick with his idea because it sounds really good. The traditional classic type roast beef po' boy has lettuce and tomato on it. It has the roast beef just as his does, slathered in gravy. There's not much differences, but anyway, let's get started on this. Okay, in the Ultimate Sandwich video by David Goss, the roast that he used was a top round, and as he stated, just about any roast would do. And I'm going with a shoulder roast, mainly because I couldn't find the top round, and all the other roasts I seen, like the olive round, had absolutely no fat cap on it. And I need this fat cap for when I start making the gravy. And so I've elected to go with this shoulder roast here. First thing you want to do is trim off some of this fat cap, or actually all of it, and reserve this. Okay, the way we're going to cook this roast is simply we're going to poach it or simmer it in hot simmering water, and the only thing we're going to add to this is going to be some bay leaves. We're going to add in about 5 bay leaves. We're going to put a cover on this. We're going to let it simmer for about an hour, hour and 15 minutes. Alright, we got the lid on this. It's at a nice simmer. It needs to go, like I said, for about 1 hour, hour and 15 minutes. All you want to do is just cook the meat. No further than that. We're going to take the fat here that we trimmed off. I'm going to place this in a Ziploc bag. Going to put it in the fridge till tomorrow. Okay, the roast has been going for about an hour. We're going to go ahead and take it out. It's fully cooked. We're just going to place it in this container here. And from here it goes in the fridge. And we shall slice this up tomorrow. We're also going to reserve all the water that this was simmered in. And that will be used to make the gravy. We'll see you tomorrow. One of the key reasons for letting this sit in the fridge overnight is to make the meat firm. You've got to cut this into very thin slices, just as thin as possible. This is what you're looking for. Being firm like this, it allows you to slice this just like a block of cheese. No problem. If you noticed, when I cooked this roast, the only herb that I added at all was bay leaf. No salt, no pepper. All the flavor is going to be coming from the gravy that we're going to make, and that is coming up next. Please stay tuned. The first step in making this gravy or roux is to add in 1/2 cup of oil. You can use a high temp oil such as peanut oil, canola oil. We're going to start this on a medium heat. Now you want to add in the trimmings that we trimmed off the roast yesterday. You want to render this down for a good 20-30 minutes. Let all this fat and flavor out of this roast get into the mix here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this on a low simmer. Just let it render down. The pieces of fat cap is all rendered down. I removed that from the oil. And now we're going to add in a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. Start making this a roux. You want to stir this roux for the entire time that it takes to brown, which is going to be somewhere around 45 minutes to an hour to get the color that I like. If you notice, I left these little yum-yums in here. That's little bits and pieces from the fat cap and little remnants of the meat. That adds more flavor to the gravy. In David's video, he actually strained the oil out to eliminate all that, but I know from past experience to leave that in. I'm going to hold to his recipe fairly close. I've never cooked roast with that method before. I've always actually done it in an oven and got it kind of a pulled pork tender, even though it's beef. And I would use a roux to make the gravy with. But on this gravy, we're actually going to be using the water that we simmered the meat in. So I'll bring you back once this roux gets to the color that we want, and we'll take it from there. Still stirring the roux here. We're beginning to change colors. It still has a ways to go. Meanwhile, please give your attention to Smoky Goodness for this important message. Been going about an hour now. This is about the color I'm going to go with here. I don't think this is quite as dark as what he had on his, but we're going to go with it. I know it's going to make a good gravy. I've been using a little TLC on this, taking my time at real low heat. Alright, now what you want to do at this point is take the same water that we cooked the roast in. Now to that, I dissolved a couple of bouillon cubes in some water and added to this. The water's cold. That's what you want to add in this gravy so it don't clump up real severely. And I added the bouillon cube just to reinforce the beef flavor that was already in the water. So just add this in slowly and get it up to the thickness that you desire. We'll need some more. Normally I would always season my roux right from the start, but in this case I'm going to go ahead and get the gravy to the consistency that I want. Then I'll show you the seasonings that needs to go in this. Okay, we're going to season this gravy. First thing you want to put in is 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic and a 1/2 tablespoon of granulated onion powder. Granulated onion. Alright. I want to put around probably about a 1/2 tablespoon of black pepper. I'm not going to measure that. Always do black pepper and salt to my own taste and preference. That should be good. Now if you remember, the meat never was salted or peppered or any other seasoning other than the bay leaf. So we got to add salt. All the flavor of this meat is going to come through this gravy. That's what's going to give it. Mix all this in, bring this to a slow simmer, and let it go for about 10 minutes. You might have to adjust the thickness of it. Right now it's looking pretty good. Might go a little bit thicker. We'll be back. Okay, we got to reheat this meat up, so the best way to do that, just simply throw it over in the gravy. I'm going to move this to the back burner and just keep it on a low heat. We're going to go ahead and get ready to do the buttered onions now. To make the buttered onions, just slice up some onion slices, just like this, quick and easy. Then you want to separate them into individual slices. Just like that. The recipe calls for a sweet onion, and that's exactly what this is. There's a variety of sweet onions, Valdez, Maui's. Just get one of a high sugar content is basically what the recipe is calling for. Alright, we'll be back. I added about 4 tablespoons of salted butter. He used unsalted butter, but I always believe in seasoning everything. Onions, whatever, you know. Everything always gets seasoning. So we got the salted butter. That will take care of the salt on these onions. And another thing I'm going to do is put a little black pepper. Also, I don't like bland food. This ensures that it's at least seasoned somewhat. Okay, all you want to do is stir that in, put a lid on it, let it simmer on low for around 7-8 minutes until onions are tender. In the David Guas video on the Ultimate Sandwich, he makes his own mayo, his own mayonnaise. Well, I decided not to do that. I don't really like working with raw egg yolks. I don't have homogenized eggs, and as a safe alternative, I'm using just store-bought Blue Plate mayo. Good stuff. Alright, you want to start these po' boys by spreading some of this mayo on your bottom layer. Just like that. Now from there, now you want to pile this roast beef on. This is all piping hot, by the way. I made my gravy a little bit thicker than his, and the reason being I'm going to do a pressed po' boy similar to what I did, or exactly like I did on the shrimp and oyster po' boy video I made a while back. He takes his and takes them and puts them in a toaster oven to melt the cheese and get the bread a little toasty. I prefer the pressed way. That's just my preference. So the gravy is a little thicker, taste is exactly the same, won't be quite as messy. Now to that, you want to add Swiss cheese. Let's do one more half. Just like that. And we're going to top it with some of these onions. Alright, right before we press that, we're going to brush olive oil on the front and the back. the classic po' boy, the classic roast beef po' boy like you get in New Orleans and around here, different parts, it's normally got the roast beef and the gravy, drenched in gravy just like this, but it also has lettuce, shredded lettuce and tomato, salt and pepper. And some people press it like I'm getting ready to do, and other people will simply just serve it on a French bread bun like this. It's all good, but I'm just extra fond of the pressed po' boys. It just gives it a really nice crust on the bread. Tender on the inside and real crispy, crusty on the outside. This is probably going to be a little messy, but nevertheless, we're going for it. These are ready to eat, smell delicious, look delicious. Let's eat. Alright, let's see how we did on this sandwich. That is so good. I'm telling you, the pressed po' boy like this makes all the difference in the world. Roast is great, the gravy is great, every flavor is just coming right through. This is a fantastic recipe. Alright, stay tuned for next week. We're going to be doing a muffaletta pizza. Recipe comes from one of my subscribers. We're going to be doing it on the grill. So we'll see you then. Until next time, smoky ribs.